What's up, world? I'm Cameron McKinney, and this is Pop Culture Spotlight, a podcast about the movie The Testament of Anne Lee. Here's a quick synopsis. After a number of miscarriages and being sent away in the 1700s, Anne Lee becomes the founder and prominent figure of the religious group The Shakers. The film stars Amanda Seyfried, Lewis Pullman, Stacey Martin, Christopher Abbott, Thomasin McKenzie, and Tim Blake Nelson. Standout performances. For a long time, Amanda Seyfried was just a name I knew because of movies like Mean Girls and Jennifer's Body. The movie that made me appreciate her as an actress was Noah Baumbach's While We're Young, with Ben Stiller, Adam Driver, and Naomi Watts. She's very funny in that film, and there's also a real sadness in that character. Critics changed their tune on Seyfried after two performances in Paul Schrader's First Reform and David Fincher's Mank, getting an Oscar nom for the latter. What got me excited about this movie was seeing Amanda Seyfried being asked to carry an entire film, and The Testament of Anne Lee really plays to her strengths. She gets to sing, which of course she does in the Mamma Mia films and Les Mis. I would describe her work in this as the most intense of her career, and I mean that as a compliment. I always feel like the job of an actor is to make you feel empathy for the character they are playing, and Amanda Seyfried does that and more, playing the titular Anne Lee. 2025 was a big year for the actress. She had this prestige film in The Testament of Anne Lee and a popcorn movie in The Housemaid, which made $386 million. She's gotten to a place where if you're talking about the best actresses working today, the name Amanda Seyfried needs to be brought up. She really is an actress who can be in any kind of film within any kind of genre. I mean, she's been in those romantic films like Dear John. She's been in the comedies. She's been in the horror films. I really like this part of her career where she's really focusing on being in dramas directed by great filmmakers. Hollywood is really trying to make Lewis Pullman happen. He had supporting roles in Top Gun Maverick and Thunderbolts, playing a character named Bob and Bolt. His best acting for me has happened in smaller movies. The line where he plays the president of a college fraternity, the Kane Mutiny Court Marshal, playing a naval officer, and the movie I'm here to talk about today, The Testament of Anne Lee, playing Anne's brother William Lee. He's really going for it, trying to match Seyfried's intensity. Thomasin McKenzie has been great in the movies Jojo Rabbit and The True History of the Kelly Gang. In The Testament of Anne Lee, she plays Anne's most loyal supporter, Mary. The big question I have surrounding her career is, can she lead a movie? Because so far, there's been mixed results with Last Night in Soho and Eileen. The way I feel about Mackenzie is almost the exact same way I feel about Lewis Pullman. They are more than adequate sharing the screen with somebody like Amanda Seyfried. But do I really want to watch a movie where those two are the leads of it? I don't know. They need to prove it to me. I think they're both young actors with loads of potential. But as of right now, they work far better as supporting players than the leads of movies. And finally, the secret weapon of the movies written by Mona Fastvold and Brady Corbet is actress Stacey Martin. She played the teacher in The Childhood of a Leader, Eleanor, the sister of pop star Celeste, played by Natalie Portman in Vox Lux, Maggie Van Buren in The Brutalist, and in The Testament of Anne Lee, she plays Daphne Guinness. Give Martin a few scenes in the movie, and she's going to make a big impact. At some point, I would like to see her be the lead of a movie written by Fastvold and Corbet. In all of those movies, she is somebody that pops off the screen. Like, I want to see her be given a bigger role in one of these movies, a leading role in one of these movies. Mona Fastvold with Corbet co-wrote the films Childhood of a Leader, Vox Lux, and The Brutalist, with Corbet directing, with Fastvold directing The Sleepwalker and The Testament of Anne Lee. She also directed the film The World to Come, where neither her nor Corbet wrote the script. I really like that film. It's become super underrated. Talking about the films made by this duo, they all have giant scopes despite being indie films, and with these last two, you are getting these larger-than-life performances from Adrien Brody in The Brutalist and Amanda Seyfried in this film, The Testament of An Lee. Fassvold and Corbet are making movies that feel big and important. And you can see what the play is. Try to become filmmakers that people care about. Like, I think people now care about the directing career of Brady Corbet after The Brutalist. They want to see what that guy is going to make next because he made a movie that so many people enjoyed. He was the star of that movie in a way, even more so than Adrien Brody. Everyone says this all of the time. Movie stars do not sell movies the way that they used to, but I believe directors can now sell the movies. People go and see the next film by Christopher Nolan. People go and see the next film by Ryan Coogler. People go and see the next film by Denis Villeneuve. Hopefully we get to a place where people go and say, I will go see the next film from Brady Corbet and Mona Fassvold. Whichever one is directing, it is going to be treated like a big deal. We're not there yet, but we should be headed towards that because I think these are two directors that everyone should take notice of. You should want your favorite actors to work with them. In the world to come, Fassvold got 4 great performances from Vanessa Kirby, Catherine Watterson, Casey Affleck, and Christopher Abbott. And in The Testament of An Lee, she got one of the best performances of Amanda Seyfried's career. So absolutely I want to see some of my favorite actors work with Mona Fassvold. Like, I couldn't imagine seeing a Mona Fassvold film starring Natalie Portman or Anne Hathaway. I mean, those are the type of caliber of actors that should want to work with Mona Fassvold. And after seeing this movie, you can't but help but want Amanda Seyfried to continue to work with the writer-director. Spectacle aside, what I enjoyed most about The Testament of An Lee is how it's not judgmental towards its heroine, which would be easy to be. Yes, you can look at An Lee as a cult leader who is problematic, but this movie gives you the proper context. For example, she strongly goes against people having sex because of being mistreated by her husband. She's not someone who is just after control and power. She just doesn't want to see people go through what she has been through. This is also in no way your classical biopic. I mean, there is a lot of singing in this movie, which will turn off some people, but it shouldn't because it really is entertaining as well. A critique I heard when people were talking about The Brutalist, and I hear it a little bit when people talk about The Testament of An Lee, is that people think that these movies are labeling themselves as self-important. That there's a lot of look at me in both of those films. And what I have to say to that is, who cares? That's why people make movies, for you to go, yes, I am impressed by that. Why do I care that Brady Corbet and Mona Fassvold want to make movies that feel big and that people care about? Isn't that what they should be doing? Steven Spielberg is the biggest director in the world, in part because Steven Spielberg was trying to become the biggest director in the world. Why is that a bad thing? And in the case of Fassvold and Corbet, I think they are just trying to oversell their movies because they know they're probably never going to be in a place where the bigger studios like Warner Brothers and Paramount make their movies. And that's why I think the next step for both of them as filmmakers is to get bigger and bigger stars to be in their films. They've resurrected the career of Adrien Brody and Guy Pearce. They've allowed Amanda Seyfried to do, in a lot of people's opinion, career best work. Now, my hope anyway is that the biggest movie stars in the world have seen these two films and gone, I want to work with those writer-directors, and then they get an opportunity to make a movie with a ridiculous budget. Let's get into the Oscars of it all, because so many critics thought this was going to be a major player at the Oscars, and at the very least that Amanda Seyfried would get her second Oscar nomination, and that did not happen. Like most challenging movies, The Testament of An Lee will be underappreciated in the moment, but over the years, more people will see it and it will only grow in status. But already there are tons and tons of people who believe that Amanda Seyfried gave the defining performance of the year 2025. Now, I don't agree with that, but I definitely do believe she should have been nominated for Best Actress at this year's Academy Awards. I think sometimes the performances that get overlooked the most are the ones where the people had to carry the entire movie. Like, this movie is absolutely nothing without Amanda Seyfried at the center of it. She is being asked to do everything. I mean, how can you even compare it to what Emma Stone is doing in Begonia? Even Jessie Buckley, who I do think should win the Oscar for Hamnet, has Paul Mescal by her side most of the movie. Like, she has another star in that film. This is the Amanda Seyfried movie. For as much as I like the other actors in this film, it's all about Amanda Seyfried. That is one of the reasons I loved Mikey Madison winning for Honora and Emma Stone winning for Poor Things. Those are two performances that are those entire films. They are carrying those movies on their backs, and so is Amanda Seyfried in The Testament of An Lee. Again, I do believe that Jessie Buckley is the right choice, but I'm not mad at anyone who believes it should be Amanda Seyfried for this film and this performance. I mean, you're listening to somebody who believes that Seyfried should have won for her performance in Mank. Box office: The Testament of An Lee made $3 million against a $10 million budget, and I get it, this is a hard movie to sell. I know some people thought that maybe the hype would grow like it did for The Brutalist, which had the exact same budget but made over $50 million. That just isn't going to happen every time. The Testament of An Lee is an epic on every level, but for you to realize that, you need to watch and experience the film. I had first heard of this film after seeing The Brutalist, and I was excited, and I think casual moviegoers have absolutely no idea this movie even exists right now. When a movie like The Testament of An Lee gets ignored by the major awards, it is devastating for the film, because that is the selling point of it. I think everybody went and saw The Brutalist because everybody was talking about it. It won Best Cinematography. There was a moment in time where people thought it was going to win Best Picture. I guess the real conversation is, was The Brutalist culturally relevant because it was a major awards contender, or was it a film that people just wanted to talk about and they're not talking about The Testament of An Lee in the same way? I, for one, think The Brutalist is a better movie, but The Testament of An Lee is great on its own. And how many people really know that the person who co-wrote The Brutalist directed this one, while the director also co-wrote it? I mean, how many people know that? And I always do believe that star power is always in play. I know people know the name Amanda Seyfried, but how many people go to the movies and say, I'm going to see the next film starring her? And then the cast members also involved, Thomasin McKenzie, Lewis Pullman, these are not household names. The Brutalist had an Oscar winner at the helm in Adrian Brody. It had Guy Pearce, a guy that a lot of people knew. I love Tim Blake Nelson, but his name doesn't get people excited to go to the movies. Christopher Abbott is a big name for people who watch movies all of the time, but if you don't, you might not even know who that is. I'm not surprised that The Testament of An Lee hasn't made $50 million like The Brutalist did, but I am surprised it hasn't even gotten to $20 million, because this movie does have a large, loud amount of supporters backing it. I mean, I've heard so many people talk about how Amanda Seyfried gave the best performance of 2025 and how this movie is unlike the conventional biopic. And I just keep going back to this. I don't think people know what this movie is about. I don't think most people know who An Lee is, who the Shakers are. And look, I can say that all I want, but at the same time, I went and saw The Brutalist not really knowing what that movie was about either. At the end of the day, it is impossible to predict what movies are going to do well at the box office and which ones are going to struggle. Getting back to the movie itself, The Testament of An Lee is way more of a character study than I thought it was going to be, which was a delightful surprise because I thought it was going to be a grand statement on the Shakers as a religious group, and it's not. An Lee will make choices in this that most audience members will disagree with, but will understand where she's coming from because the movie gives you the proper context. After watching a movie like this, it's always interesting to think about what's next for the major players involved. Like I said, for Mona Fastvold, my thought is that she needs to work with bigger names. She's making the right kinds of movies. She's making movies that feel epic. I mean, one thought I had is I really want her to re-team with Vanessa Kirby, who has become a bigger name now that she's been in a Marvel film. I mean, with this, she's really proven to be a master of making period piece films. I mean, the ship in this movie is incredible. It makes absolutely no sense how this movie is not nominated for Best Cinematography at the Oscars. I also think there are movie critics and audiences who just want a movie to be one thing. I mean, this is like an epic drama that also happens to be a musical, and I think that really does bother a lot of people because they say commit to one thing. You either need to be a great musical or you need to be a great drama. They can't comprehend that a movie like The Testament of An Lee can end up being both things. I don't know if Mona Fastvold will ever end up being a mainstream filmmaker, and the same goes for Brady Corbet. I just hope they continue to keep doing what they're doing. I hope somebody gives them a ridiculous budget, and I really do hope they end up working with the biggest movie stars in the world to sell their movies so more people appreciate their great works. And it's worth noting that they worked with a legitimate movie star in Natalie Portman on Vox Lux, and she gave one of her best performances. For Seyfried, I will admit I haven't even seen The Housemaid, but I definitely want more movies like The Testament of An Lee than I do The Housemaid. Like, I want her to work with great auteur filmmakers like David Fincher, like Noah Baumbach, like Paul Schrader, and like Mona Fastvold. Because yes, I think she can be funny in a movie, but the version of Amanda Seyfried I like the most is somebody who brings that fire intensity to the screen. That's why she's really good in Les Mis, a movie I didn't love, but was like, she's one of the best things about that film. A filmmaker I desperately think Amanda Seyfried needs to work with is Sofia Coppola. I think that is the right pairing. The other thing I wonder is, in 5 years from now, even 10 years, are we going to look back at this movie and go, wow, Thomasin McKenzie and Lewis Pullman played smaller roles in the movie The Testament of An Lee, and now they're bigger stars? I don't know if that's going to happen. I think both have proven they are more than capable supporting performers. I just don't know if they will ever get to a place like Amanda Seyfried is, where they can carry and lead an entire major motion picture. For Thomasin McKenzie, I thought she was the absolute best thing about the film Jojo Rabbit. I mean, I still rewatch that movie because of her, but I didn't love her in The Last Night in Soho. Anya Taylor-Joy stole that movie because Anya Taylor-Joy has the feeling of a movie star. Right now, I don't get that feeling from Thomasin McKenzie, and I don't mean that as a diss. I think she's a really good actress. I really enjoyed her in The Testament of An Lee. It's just when it comes to her being the lead of a movie, she needs to prove it, and I feel the exact same way about Lewis Pullman. He can be funny in a Marvel movie. That doesn't mean I want to see him be the lead of a film. I'm rooting for both of them, and I hope that both get opportunities to prove me wrong. That is just how I feel at this point in time. The last thing I'll say about The Testament of An Lee is I think think we're all in agreement that the biggest snub when it comes to the Oscars is the performance given by Amanda Seyfried. It should be nominated. I understand people watching this movie and going, I don't think this should be nominated for Best Picture. I can understand that. I do not understand people watching this movie and not recognizing Amanda Seyfried for the incredible work she's doing in this film. Like I was saying earlier, I am simple when it comes to movies. If you carry a movie that I really like, I will give you an enormous amount of credit for doing that. And that is exactly what Amanda Seyfried deserves for her performance in The Testament of Anne Lee. Thanks for listening to this edition of Pop Culture Spotlight. I'm Cameron McKinney, and there'll be a new episode of the podcast every Thursday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I highly recommend you check out The Testament of Anne Lee. Next week on the podcast, I'm talking about Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride, starring Jessie Buckley and Christian Bale. So tune in to that, and please rate, review, and subscribe.